Alright guys, we're back at it. It's warm enough today that I feel comfortable pulling the sleeves. Like I said in my Caterpillar video, when I pulled the sleeves on that one, not the most rational of fears, but it's a fear I have. So it's 50 degrees outside today. I'm not worried at all about cracking this block, even though it's already cracked. We'll get to that in a minute. So let's get to pulling some sleeves out.
Alright, here's the sleeve tool I made. It does both the standard size and the overbore size. Pretty much just a miniature of the one I made for the D2s. And then I just used this puller bar, a big old 3/4 inch piece of threaded rod, and 2 pieces of just regular soft steel that I've made sure deburred real well, and just kind of spread the load out over the block as much as I can. And I try to get those blocks over thicker parts of the cylinder head surface. And then just start turning the nut, and that should pull that cylinder sleeve right out. I've been asked before why I make that cylinder puller tool, why I don't make it a complete disc, and I think that the amount of surface area just from that does just fine. First cylinder's ready to come out here. Just like that. And the other thing with that tool too is if I'm working on a block that's not conveniently set up on an engine stand like that, I can reach my hand down through the cylinder and get it down through the cylinder. Can't do that with a complete disc the same size as the cylinder sleeve you're trying to pull. So that first one came out about how I was expecting. I should say they all came out about how I was expecting. A little bit of resistance at first, but nothing too bad. And I was keeping an eye on those cracks I mentioned in the blockhead, seeing how much they would or wouldn't open up while I'm wrenching on it. And they didn't seem to move too much, so that's a good sign. There's number 2. And we'll get set up for number 3. And the threaded rod really doesn't have to be that long, but I use that same piece of threaded rod for a lot of different puller setups. There goes cylinder number 3. And last but not least, cylinder number 4. Nice and smooth. So when we looked in these are the cracks I was talking about. You can just barely see them there. And back around cylinders 3 and 4, there was a fair amount of gunk. Those are away from the opening. Now what I'm doing here is I'm getting set up with my little tool I made to pull the cam bearings out. And you'll see in a minute why this piece here had 2 steps on it. And this is why I leave that threaded rod so long. That's the same piece I used for the cylinders. And it just threads into that bushing I made on the other side. and with a little bit of twisting and turning, it pulls it right out. And these bushings I made out of aluminum, trying to be a little bit gentler to the cam bearings, and probably use, unless they get dinged up real bad, I'll be using them again to install the new cam bearings. There goes the front one. Sorry about the lighting on this shot, it didn't come out great, but we're pulling the middle cam bearing right now. Same setup. So you can see I flipped it around there, and the step that's on the back side is the diameter of the bore that the cam bearings go into. So when I'm pulling them from the other side, where the bearings are already out of, it still lines the threaded rod up. So these are the cam bearings that we pulled out, and they are the split type. But as you can see here, a fair amount of wear, ugliness on these. Actually, it looks like it might even gotten down to the steel here. This was on the bottom side, I believe. That was front. Here's the mid, same thing. You can see it actually pulled material into the oil hole. And here's the rear. This one had the biggest step of all. And again, getting all the way through the babbitt into the steel. So these were 100% wore out, and if nothing else, it's a good thing we're tearing this engine apart to replace these, because I know I still haven't found any major carnage, and I took this engine apart because I was expecting carnage, but this is the first major issue we've come across so far on this project. This is what they're supposed to look like. As you can see, no groove. And if we wander over to our part shelf here, you can see why that groove is there. There's a oil groove on each of the journals, and that there is actually a piece of bearing. And this camshaft, when I pulled it out, it did have a sticking point in it, and I think now we know why.
Alright, well there's that done. We are 100% down to black. There's literally nothing. Scratch my nose without getting my face too dirty. Like I mentioned at the beginning, and probably in the voiceover, it is cracked between all three bores. Kind of a common issue with these blocks. Should still be usable. We're going to give it a shot and see what happens. Of all the spots on a block to be cracked, that's the one that I least worry about. With those cracks, usually the head gasket manages to seal it off. So, should be good yet with this block, which is good because, like I said, have a common problem, hard to find them without those cracks in them. They're getting used on other tractors. So anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. A little bit of a shorter one today, just pulling those last few parts out with the tools that I made for them. But that means that the next video we're probably going to be putting parts back into this and starting the reassembly process. So that's fun because I don't think we've actually hit a reassembly video on this channel yet, what with the Caterpillar still being in the early stages. So stay tuned guys, lots more to come. Thanks for watching.